So if you're struggling with anxiety, if you have these terrible physical symptoms, if you have these feelings of unreality, or you have these scary intrusive thoughts, chances are you've done some lifestyle adjustments at this point. One of the biggest lifestyle adjustments people talk about is eliminating caffeine. But if you're like me, it kind of doesn't make sense because I used to love having caffeine. And then all of a sudden when I got tricked into the cycle, people told me that caffeine was the culprit. That just didn't make sense to me. What I want to do is in this video demystify the idea of caffeine with anxiety, because the truth is that caffeine actually does aggravate anxiety, but eliminating caffeine doesn't actually eliminate the anxiety. And so what I want to talk about in this video is going deep into the idea of caffeine and anxiety. So let's get started. So out of one of the most contentious things that comes out from my videos is a lot of people saying, Shaan, how can you promote caffeine? Like, it's obvious caffeine promotes anxiety. Like, I had anxiety, and then when I had caffeine, my anxiety got worse. So why are you promoting the idea of being able to have caffeine? Well, here's actually the truth. And here's what we found, and this is exactly what we see with people as they get to recovery and as they become fully recovered. Here's the thing. When people are struggling with anxiety, what most people try to do is avoid triggers that cause their anxiety. So what happens is that people become in this fight or flight response. What happens is typically a panic attack is what triggers the cycle. They become sensitized, and now small stressors that would normally not throw individuals off now produce an exaggerated response. So what happens is when people have caffeine, what it does is that it increases adrenaline, and because they're sensitized, it creates an exaggerated response. What you'll see is that if you're having caffeine, that your heart will start palpitating really fast, and that scares you. That's like, oh my God, what's happening? I don't want to feel like this. I want to avoid how I'm feeling. And that's the mistake. See, most people try to do things to avoid the anxiety. But the truth is that if you really want to overcome anxiety, the idea isn't by avoiding. The focus should be a little bit different. It should be focusing on long-term freedom, not short-term comfort. So what happens is that even though people used to enjoy coffee, and they know that coffee exaggerates their anxiety, or caffeine, or any beverage that has caffeine, the idea is that when they take caffeine, it aggravates their anxiety, and what they do is they begin avoiding. Now, if you know anything about anxiety, you know that avoidance is not the answer. Avoidance is just a sophisticated form of coping. The real way to get out is by focusing on long-term freedom, focusing on overcoming it. So one of the most important things to realize is that when you're having caffeine, that yes, it does aggravate your anxiety, but eliminating your caffeine isn't going to make your anxiety go away. You will still be sensitized. In order to overcome anxiety, you have to do different things. It's not just avoiding certain things, but actually proactively focusing on just a few steps consistently so that you could fully overcome. Now, if you really want to know what are these steps, I'd be happy to share with you in this video what these steps are, but I think a better way is by clicking a link below. I've essentially written out a report on how to overcome this once and for all. This is the exact steps that I use to fully overcome, and the exact same steps I literally show my clients. These are literally the steps. There's no secret sauce. There's no secret I'm hiding. This is exactly what I do to help individuals fully come out. And I put a link down below, mostly because this was something I struggled with for so long. The whole purpose of this channel is to help people overcome. And so for that, I'm just giving this out for you. It's totally free. It will show you step by step, and it's a great, great resource to get started. Now, here's the cardinal mistake so many people make when struggling with anxiety, which is they try to avoid the triggers. They try to avoid the cause of the anxiety. But true freedom doesn't lie in the causes of anxiety, it's the way you respond. See, when you respond and not react, what happens is that it actually tells your anxiety at the moment that there's actually no threat. That when it's being triggered in situations that are totally inappropriate. So because of that, it's really important to respond appropriately. But what most people do is they focus on avoiding. They focus on avoiding the trigger. This is why avoiding caffeine doesn't actually eliminate the anxiety. The focus should be on responding. So when people are struggling with anxiety in the beginning, they can't have coffee, but by the end, as they're on their way to fully overcome, they can go back to enjoying coffee, any form of caffeine beverage, anything caffeine related like they used to, exactly the same. And here's the great thing. their nerves don't get sensitized. It's not as irritated. So the caffeine doesn't trigger them the same way. Their nervous system has desensitized and come back to baseline. So if you're really wanting to know, okay, it's not about the lifestyle, it's really focusing on overcoming. How do I focus on overcoming? How do I have people essentially go from experiencing terrible symptoms to fully overcoming? If you really want to know, I'll put a link down below to my private Facebook group. In this group, I'm posting exclusive content that I'm not posting on any other social media platform. In this group, there's individuals that literally have fully overcome, that are on their journey to fully overcoming, and there's some great info and guidance that really take people by the hand and take them to recovery. So when you hit the link down below, what it's going to do is going to ask you 3 questions. It's really important that you answer these 3 questions to the best of your ability. If you've ever been on an anxiety forum, you know it can get pretty toxic. There can be a lot of fear-mongering. We want to maintain the integrity of this group. We really want to provide good information that's productive in your recovery journey. We don't want people to be scaring other members in the group or only joining this group when they're scared. The focus is on long-term freedom, not short-term comfort. So if that's you, hit the link down below and I'll see you inside.